we all say we want that, and maybe we do for the first, week maybe, but
Right.
once you've gone too many days without a shower, I think I'm going to want to find the nearest Motel 6, check in. Got a cup of coffee and.
Geez, I feel like I'm on vacation in a lodge.
I know. Looks like I'm in Wyoming or something.
I know. Congratulations on this. I have to tell you, I watched this series with my husband, and he turned to me and he's like, "You would never go with me if I pulled the family." And
no one would if they had any brains.
I was a little offended because I like a good adventure. What was the most adventurous trip you ever did growing up with your family?
Oh my God. We didn't travel. We did travel much. The one thing my family did wonderfully, or at least thought was important, was to make your children travel, either with them or without them. So from very early ages, we were going to very far-flung places. Paul is obviously a noted travel writer who goes to the probably got more stamps in his passport than anyone I know. But I've gone to a couple of really far out places. I once went to a place called Jaisalmer, which is sort of in the western part of India, near the Pakistani border.
Wow.
I spent an enormous amount of time in Asia, in China, when it was very sort of, barely any cars at the time. So and I spent a lot of time traveling by train in China as well. So a couple, and train in Taiwan and, Japan. I mean, I don't know. It's it's one of the things I'm very grateful to my father for, which is pushing me onto airplanes.
I'm the same way. It's my passion. I just love it, and I feel like if anyone could live off the grid, it would be you.
No, I would be walking around looking for a signal within the first 5 minutes. Yeah, I would be terrible, like living off the grid. I think I'd be good. We all say we want that, and maybe we do for the first, week maybe, but
right.
Once you've gone too many days without a shower, I think I'm going to want to find the nearest Motel 6, check in.
I know you did not get this role because of your uncle, but you have to admit the fact that the author of this is your uncle makes this a really cool story.
It's super cool, and again, it reeks of nepotism, but it's not. It's like it was the normal channels, which is. I heard about it. I mean, he had already sort of set it up at Apple and Fremantle, and then I heard about it, like just sort of the normal casting circuit. My manager called and said, they're doing Mosquito Coast. And I said, well, hey, I'm available. If we wanted to. So I met with Neil Cross and read the scripts, and we fell in love with them, and man, we hit it off, and so it made sense. And then I had the joy of being able to call my uncle and go, hey, guess what? I think I'm going to do Ali Fox in Mosquito Coast, and he's thrilled. Like, he's beyond thrilled, to keep it in the family.
Well, you're so good at it. It's funny. I noticed a few nods to the original film with Harrison Ford, including some of your attire. But I was sort of thrilled that you didn't have as many kids as he had in that film, because the ones you do have in this cause some issues. I mean, kids are always wild cards.
They're a handful. I know. I think at one point we had scripted, in one of the very early drafts, we had 2 infants, and when you work with infants, you have to have 2 of them, so you'd have to have 2 sets of twins in order to work the hours that infants are allowed to work, which is essentially about 20 minutes a day. And then we thought better of it, that we were going to be shooting in some very harsh locations.
Right.
Maybe we don't want 4 infants traveling. It's borderline unfair.
Plus, you're crossing the Arizona desert, supposedly, in part of this. And I'm in Arizona, so you don't bring a bunch of infants. And
yeah, exactly. You barely bring adults there for that.
Gosh, Melissa, I just came from Justin, who looked like he was in a Wyoming lodge with a fireplace. You look like you're in an art gallery. Gorgeous.
You look like you're in an art gallery, too. It looks beautiful there.
Oh, thank you. Hey, congratulations on this. I was telling Justin, I watched this with my husband, and the first thing he did was look at me and said, you would never in a million years go with me if I decided to uproot the family and head down to Mexico. Would you? Are you that adventurous?
I am that adventurous. I would say I would do it in a second. I think it was a great idea of them just to kind of, but there's a reason that Margot can't not go with him, and Ali needs Margot, and Margot needs Ali, and there's a big reason that will be revealed at some point. But yeah, they're the foxes, and they outrun everything so far.
Yeah. I have to tell you, you know, I know that you guys worked together. How many years ago was that when you two worked together before?
Unbelievable. 20 years ago,
Oh my
Justin was the
gosh.
lead of Mulholland Drive. I was cast by David Lynch to play This Is the Girl, like Camilla Rhodes.
Yep.
And I was singing my heart out for Justin. He says the line, the iconic line of the film, This Is the Girl. And then 20 years later, he's calling for me to play Margot. And I was like, what? Life is just, sometimes it's precious like that, you know? So we had this familiarity, yet we didn't see each other really in 20 years, maybe once or twice. And just to have that connection, and, you know, you just constantly tell each other how good you look. It's been 20 years.
Yeah, well, that's actually very, very true. But that was my next question, actually. Had you guys kept in touch, and the fact that you really hadn't, and now have connected on this film. And this isn't just like a nice, simple rom-com. I mean, this must have been a grueling shoot.
Grueling shoot. But I had a feeling. I remember when I did the casting and I finally got the role, Rupert called my agent and said, you need to tell Melissa that this is going to be rough. And if she's up for it, and I'm Australian, you know, I've been living off the grid since I was very young. So for me, it was just an adventure. But the reality was, yes, it was a lot of work, but not just for us, for the crew, for everyone. We moved around a lot. The sets were really authentic. The conditions were exactly what the foxes went through. So in a way, it's you see it on the screen, and I think that's a blessing. Sometimes you have to fake a lot of it. And here we would just turn up at 3 a.m. to the desert and I'd be like, okay, that's it, keep walking.
Well, and weren't you guys shooting when COVID happened? I mean, didn't that affect things pretty significantly in the middle
It
of the
really
shoot?
affected. I mean, there was a rumor. It was like way back in early 2020. There was a rumor, you know, there's the COVID, the coronavirus, and we were kind of like, okay. And each week we kind of just kept filming, and then at some point we were like, oh boy, we have to get Melissa on the last flight out of here, and they closed the borders. And thank God, because I was back home for 5-6 months.
Wow.
It's a miracle. I mean, the world, as we all know, we all had to just participate in beating this thing, and really, you know, career and TV shows and all that just became secondary. Then after 6 months, we figured out a way with a very good group of epidemiologists, and, you know, to create this bubble to make sure that we could actually go back and finish off the fox's journey of the Mosquito Coast. And it was tough. I would say it's hard not to see people's faces and really connect, but at the same time, we were lucky enough to just be able to successfully complete the show.
And it's really good. I know they just wrapped me, but you're a mom. Don't you think Justin would be a good dad, even though he puts his family in some tough positions here?
He would be the best dad. I mean, look how he
Yeah.
treats his dog, Kuma.
Yeah, that's very true.
Like Kuma, he's the greatest. Honestly, Justin's just funny. He's generous. He's kind. He's everything you'd want in a dad, really. So yeah, got to get him. Got to get him to hurry up on that one.
one day. Hey, listen, I hope we do the next one in person. Congratulations on this.
Thank you.
Stay
Thank you
safe.
so much.